second episode of my solo playthrough I'll be trying to upload through YouTube. Last, last, we last left off at the Firelink Shrine. We are getting ready to head to the Undead Burg. We'll attempt to get through the Undead Burg in episode, but we'll see what happens. We didn't discuss it in the last episode, but the bloodstains that you see all around are other players who died. And touching it gives you a preview of how they died. That one timed out. If it works, I'll show you how they died. And we'll try this one. A lot of times you can use it as information, especially if you see a bloodstain next to an item. 9 times out of 10 that means there's some sort of trap, either an enemy that's hiding or a trap that gets activated. Rats are very dangerous creatures in early Dark Souls. They build up poison quite a bit. It appears the bloodstains are not wanting to work for now, so we'll have to show at a later time. A lot of these enemies aren't going to be hard 1v1. The problem is getting stun locked by a group of them. Until we've built up a lot of poise, that's going to be the most dangerous thing, is just hiding mobs. Let's see. Fire bombs are real good early on. And let's see, what else did we pick up? A lot of these early on enemies are people who've been cursed with the dark sign and have turned hollow. Let's see, I think we also got... Was it a shield that we picked up? That's an update on all the items we've gathered. You can wear it for a little bit more protection, but at this moment, I'm more worried of how my character looks than by actual protection. A big thing in the Dark Souls community is looking a certain way more than the protections. You typically only worry about protections if you're having a real bad time and need a little bit of extra protection. being someone who uses a shield, the best way to fight people is either let the attack bounce off your shield and then go for a swing, or to parry them and go for the riposte. You can get away with a lot of stuff by just swinging non-stop, but as mentioned earlier, going against mobs getting stun locked is one of the worst things that can happen to you. And here we are, the Undead Burg. The game should let us know in a second. That's where we're at. Anytime you notice that there is a bow user, crossbow user, all the sorts, it's always a good idea to pick an angle to take care of everyone else, then deal with him afterwards. Or we do the opposite, or run past all the non-ranged people and then take out the melee, the ranged one first. What I did right there is a kick. It helps when a lot of people are turtling behind shields. Gives you that opening you need to kill them.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you, hmm? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale. Things are getting treacherous in these parts. A horrible goat demon has moved in below. And up above, there's that humongous drake and a bull demon too. If you stick around this place, it might end up being your grave. Here, I'm not here to chit-chat. We talk business or we talk nothing at all.
He is a merchant that's going to sell a lot of the essential stuff early on in the game. This is what's needed to write those messages we talked about in the first episode. Durability is an issue on weapons. A lot of the times you can get away without buying repair powder, but certain weapons just burn through durability where that would be required. This is one of the reasons why I usually don't worry about buying repair powder. You can buy this repair box through this guy, or there will be a blacksmith later on that you can buy it from. This allows you to store items in your bonfire. After about 20 hours into this game, you could have a million things in your inventory, and this will help make things easier. For now, we're just going to buy this residence key. also sells a lot of the early on weapons if there is something you want in particular and your character doesn't start with it. A lot of arrows and bolts if you prefer to be on the range side of things. And he sells the chain armor. We may or may not end up getting this for this character for now. It'll depend if we get lucky rolls on armor or if we find a set that I want to use.
Thank you kindly.
Just a reminder from the first episode, it's always a good idea to rest at bonfires when you find them. That way when you die you can reset there. But once again, just keep in mind that means all the enemies are going to respawn in that area. Souls is what you collect to level up, increase a lot of things, but this character, our main focus is going to be Vitality, which is HP. Attunement, which is more spell slots, which means we can cast more spells. Endurance, which affects stamina and quick load. Strength, which will be what our weapons are going to scale off of. And Faith, which will help strengthen our miracles, or any faith-based damage. Dexterity is affecting certain weapons like katanas, daggers, those type of things. Resistance, it is almost never worth leveling up resistance in this game. It does increase your resistance by bleed, resist, poison, curse, but there are items and armor sets that are more worthwhile than sacrificing levels for that. Intelligence is if you want to use magic to cast spells. Attune magic is how you switch out what spells you're using. You're not going to be able to have access to everything that you find. You'll have to pick at bonfires what you want to use. This is a list of the covenants. Kindle and reverse hollowing. Reverse hollowing, using a humanity, will turn your character from looking like a prune into looking like a normal human the way they were designed in the character creation. It allows you to summon phantoms to help aid you, but it also leaves you susceptible to being invaded by other players. To kindle a bonfire is to strengthen it. A normal bonfire will reset your Estus flask at 5. A kindled bonfire will give you 10 flask every time you sit at the bonfire. It's a good idea if you're struggling at an area or if you know you're going to be using the bonfire a lot, to kindle that bonfire so you could have access to Tin Flask. Shields are, in most cases, always a good idea. The one thing you want to keep in mind of is what it reduces physically wise. As you can see, physical is going to be all those weapon attacks I've been blocking so far. It's going to block 88% of that. Any magic attacks less than half, fire less than half, lightning over 65%. Instability, it's a mix of how much stamina you lose when you block. Right now, looking at this shield, it would be a total upgrade. The only downside to it is that it weighs slightly more. And weight is a very important factor in this game. There is a stat called equip load. If you look in the top right, you see the equip load at 12.551. There are certain thresholds you hit that affects your dodge roll. The heavier you are, the less iframes you have, which means you're more likely to get hit even if you try dodging. With this tanky character, my equip load is going to be on the heavier side, so it's going to be harder for me to dodge things, which is why you typically go shield to try blocking instead of dodging the attacks. One of the most powerful items you can get early on. They do a lot of damage. Also equip that. Those items I just added are consumables. Once you use them, they're gone. They don't replenish at bonfires. The only thing that's guaranteed to replenish at bonfires is your Estus Flask. This is backstab. One of the more powerful things you can do. Dark Souls is notorious for backstab attacks. They're really easy to get off in PvP and in PvE. There are a lot of tougher enemies you can just get away beating with just backstabs. As you see, a lot of enemies can be defeated without even landing an attack on them. Anything that can kill you can also kill the enemies. So leading them into traps, making them fall off the edges, all these are viable options. Now this part is what really hurts a lot of people early on. This is a Black Knight, a very tanky enemy and a hard-hitting enemy compared to everything that you will fight up to this point. As I said earlier with backstabs, a lot of people can get away by defeating with just backstabs. I usually attempt to parry, but I'm not the best at parrying them. We're going to try dragging them to a different area. Depending on your weapon and stats, that might be the only way you're going to be able to defeat enemies this tough. Unfortunately, I got lucky enough to get the shield, but I don't require the stats to actually use it. If you see right under the damage reduction, there's that required number. That's 16 in red, means we don't have enough strength to hold it. Another big drawback is the weight that this shield has. Just weight, this shield itself is 6 pounds, or whatever unit measurement they use. Most likely we'll probably switch to this because it is a very good shield. As you can see, it's going to block 100% physical damage, 95 of fire, 65 of lightning, and it has a huge stability. The only time we probably won't use it is if we're going into an area with a lot of magic damage we need to block. Now to grab the item that he was defending. A very good item early on when a lot of hits don't do a lot of damage, because to proc that effect you have to be low on HP in the first place. Later on in the game there are going to be so many attacks that just do way too much damage where the value of that ring won't be nearly as good. is I don't remember the exact name of it. I believe it's a crystal lizard. They are creatures that will be in random parts of the game. Once they detect you, you have a short time to kill them. Killing them grants rare materials you need to upgrade weapons, armor, and such. And here's the location of the first boss, the Tauros demon. If you look above, you'll see there's some enemies up there. It's always a good idea to take care of them first. Especially with the strategy that a lot of people use when fighting this guy. Let's see, you got some... Alright, now we are prepared to take on the Tauros demon. The reason you want to clear this is A, they'll be shooting bolts the whole time even when you fight, and B, that drop attack we did on the Asylum demon is going to come in handy here. So as soon as he jumps down, you run to the ladder. And when he gets in position, you'll drop attack on him. This isn't something you want to take too long doing, because he will jump up there. Usually you can only get one of those off. Now, something you have to keep in mind is fighting him on this bridge is very dangerous. The camera will betray you, and getting caught on him happens quite a bit. As you can see, parts of the bridge wall are destroyed. If the creature hits you with one of his attacks, he can send you flying off the bridge. There you go. That's the Tauros demon fight. And I got really lucky by getting that. And as someone said in the chat, two-handed with the mace usually does stun him a lot easier. I'm just used to doing shield combat. And now to talk to everyone's favorite NPC.
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time. Oh, aha. So I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this. We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind. Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
As mentioned in the first episode, a lot of Dark Souls is making shortcuts to get back to areas. This is one of the first ones you do. for now, the wyvern's not an issue anymore. If you have the souls and the time, you can buy like 500 arrows and slowly kill them from a safe angle. But I figured that would be the better route to take for now. Had a little bit more faith, we'd be able to interact with the statue and join the covenant that we plan on joining. But for now, we'll go this way. There is another Black Knight up here. Sometimes I can kill him, sometimes I can't. Too early. You go. It's one of the ways to take him down, getting backstabs and lucky parries off. At this point, a lot of the weapons you would have don't do enough damage to just fight him normally, unless you just can never get hit. Let's see, how much do I need to level up more time? 1450. Alright, that's more than enough. now, we should be able to join this covenant. Now we have an offensive miracle we can use instead of healing. Let's showcase it in this first guy. You can see it's very strong. The range is on the shorter side, but it'll give us something if we don't want to go into melee range. Usually don't use this item a lot. This is the one spot where I usually use it. It's kind of used as bait for the creatures. And as you can see, they'll walk into danger. Go. Now it's a little safer. I will show the description of the lightning spear I forgot to do. Looks like, although I'll probably not be wearing it. I don't know if the mace will be the final weapon for this character, but shield most likely will be. The big draw to the build I'm doing for this playthrough is the miracle spells. If I put a few points into strength, I believe I can use the halberd. Should give me a second melee option. Miracle is faith-based spells, like, let's see, if I can get him to stand still for a second. Nope, can't get him to stand. That's what I get for trying to show off something. It is a stat. In the beginning cinematic, there's a part where Gwyn and his knights are hurling lightning at dragons. That is an example of a faith spell. Divine weapons is there's an option later on where you can infuse your weapons for the faith stat. So for example, let's look at the mace. On that auxiliary effects, I believe is what that is saying. If you infuse a weapon and make it divine, you can do divine damage as well as normal damage. And that would tell you how much it scales off of it. Right now, this weapon only scales off of strength, which is what that B stands for. I don't know the exact math on the numbers, but usually if you are pouring a lot of points into a stat, you're going to want a higher scaling item. I usually don't play a spellcaster type build, so this is kind of new ground for me. Of all the playthroughs I do, like 90% of them are your standard just melee damage. Let's see if I can actually show off the spell without dying this time. Yeah, it's a miss. That's why it's usually better for bigger targets or targets that stand still. Is the targeting on them can be questionable. Yeah, basically, for example, in D&D, Guiding Light, this spell is pretty much how I picture seeing Guiding Light. Guiding Bolt, yeah. Yeah, miracles don't have a lot of offensive spells, but this is one of the go-to ones. I think when I go through Dark Souls 2 again, it's usually stated. I know for sure it's good against dragons. As listed here, the spell's good. It does lightning damage for one of their terms, which makes it good against magic defenses, fire defenses, and dragons. Alright, let's see if I can do this without dying. There we go. Properly showcased at that time. Yes, it is going to be very strong for a long time. The only time it won't be strong is going against other creatures that use faith-based stuff. Because improving your faith stat also increases your resistance against the same thing. In Dark Souls 1, they didn't have a resource for magic. That number 8, that's above the Lightning Spear spell, that's how many more uses I have of it until I rest at a bonfire. I don't remember if they used resource in Dark Souls 2, but in Dark Souls 3 they implemented a third bar for magic use and weapon art use. One of the drawbacks to spellcasting is the time it takes to cast it. That's why a lot of builds will go dexterity when they do spellcasting. Because dexterity slowly increases the speed to cast spells. Let's see, what stats I need for the halberd. Okay, to use the halberd I'd have to put a lot of points into strength and dex. I think for the time being I'll keep the mace. If I have points to spare later on in the playthrough, I'll probably switch to this. Let's see. One of the drawbacks to spells is their questionable range. Usually what happens is I try to bait out an attack. That way I know I have time to cast it. Same thing when you want to drink. Alright, parry this. When the creature gets in that stance, that means he's going to parry as soon as you try to attack him. And that's why I opted to use the Light and Spear spell. Wow. 2 items. I would love using this helmet. I'm just not a big fan of the mask part being flipped up to the back. But I'm picky like that. Yeah, see. I can't cast fast enough to attack him. Let's see. Get a max range. I can technically cast it farther, but if I don't have that target on, actually hitting the target is going to be almost completely luck. Upgrade the mace real quick. Someone like this, I might be able to attack him in time. It does that much damage and he blocked it with the shield. So yeah, it's a pretty strong spell. Yeah, the concept of what shields can block in this game is interesting. On certain attacks, if you block, they'll go through an animation where it sends you sliding about 15 feet away. I need to be real careful here. See that stance he's doing right now? If I attack, you would parry it. Well, when it works the way it's supposed to. Yeah, generally when you do a shield-based combat, you want to get their weapons to bounce off your shield first. It'll give you that attack opportunity. If I was a little bit stronger, I would do parrying, but I can't do that. This creature's called the Channeler. That Trident and Dance he did buffs any nearby allies of his. So that blue aura that's around these guys means that they hit harder. If you're real lucky, when you defeat Channelers, they can drop the Trident and you can use it yourself. Yeah, with them being buffed like that, they hit real hard. For PvE, it's probably good. It's at least good in certain situations, because you can buff people you summon with it. But since it has the buff, you don't have heavy attacks, so you have a very limited moveset with it. Dying there is unfortunate, but it's not the worst thing because I was able to get the shortcut opened up before I died. So instead of going through that whole gauntlet again, I just go through this gate. Sounds like there's someone behind me. I better take care of him before I go any further. The mace is very good for getting to in-game. You can use any weapon you want to get to in-game. There are people who beat the game without leveling up with a club. You can upgrade weapons to do the max damage you possibly can, increase scaling. And it just depends because all weapons have like different attack animations. There's swords that can do slashes and thrusts. It just depends on how you plan on playing. Since this guy's more focused on the spells, I'm not going to be too picky with the weapon. But this weapon can stagger if you two-hand and hit people a lot of times. But as far as for this character, I'm leaning towards the mace, but I haven't picked one yet. Well, you know what? I picked up something and didn't show it off in the stream. I believe, yeah, Firekeeper Soul. Yeah, with this playthrough, I plan on putting it on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to split them up 15-minute wise, because that is an option, or just have it as one long video each time. There'll be something I kind of experiment with. Oh, thought I had my shield out. I have to double check YouTube, but it should be on my channel now. I just have to make it public. When I end this broadcast, I'll check if the first episode's available. Oh yeah, it's very dumb of me to do. Yeah, it's usually not worth looting these guys, because it's almost always going to be just a broken sword. And this is one of the first NPCs you can rescue throughout the game.
Oh, still human, are you? Then I am in luck. Could you help me? As you can see, I am stuck without recourse.
For spells, you need faith at a certain point to be able to cast them. And once again, if you have weapons that
Thank
do
you.
divine damage, the higher the faith is, the
Sincerely,
more damage it does.
I am Knight Lautrec of Karim. I truly appreciate this. And I guarantee a reward. Only later.
With this lightning spear, I should be able to take
Yes,
on a
yes.
few
Your reward will have to
bosses I
wait.
usually struggle with when I do a shield
Allow me some time.
character. So, we've rescued him and talked to him. He will be at the Firelink Shrine for us, which we're going to head to now. Because by clearing out the church, we have access to the shortcut back to Firelink Shrine. We're going to sacrifice some... Oh, there's one left. And take some fall damage. I don't know if it actually works. Whenever you fall, I always do an attack. I think it reduces the damage. I have no proof. It's just something I believe in. We're gonna head back to the Firelink Shrine to level up and talk to Lautrec. But before I do that, I'm gonna collect some things. So we've got that key now for when we go back to the asylum. I probably won't go back to the asylum until, at the very least, we beat the gargoyle demon. We already have a Morningstar and Talisman. Get the Homeward Bone. A very important item for the game. If you're stuck in a position where you can't progress without dying, and you need to get to a safe spot, you can use these to take you back to the last bonfire you're at. This cemetery leads to the catacombs, which is an area I am not going to for quite some time. So we are not going to bother collecting the items, because I don't want to risk dying with this many souls. A lot of times the skeletons will have scimitars, which is a weapon that causes bleeding, which is what that bar is that comes up every time I'm blocking an attack. I'm blocking the damage, but you can still build up poison, bleed, or curse. And what bleed does in this game is when that bar fills, I'll get hit with a huge burst of damage. Right now we collected a lot of soul consumables. We're going to use that to buy miracles if we have enough for it. And whatever souls we have left, we'll use to upgrade our weapon before we go fight the gargoyle boss. Unfortunately, I don't think there'll be enough souls to buy much.
Oh, I will teach you
As you see, won't have enough for Great Heal Excerpt, Homeward, or Force, or Seek Guidance. Luckily, these aren't miracles I'm looking to purchase at the moment. A lot of them aren't required. Like this one, there's a more powerful one down the road that does damage as well as knocking people back. Seek Guidance. I believe it shows more messages on the ground, and that's the gist of that spell. Homeward is a decent spell to have because once you run out of Homeward Bones, you don't have a teleport option. This would allow you to go back to a bonfire. And this one, it's a better heal, but as you can see, you can only use it once.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
So, what we're going to use the souls for instead is we're going to go visit the blacksmith. And we're going to make our weapon more powerful. Oh, you know what? We need to go back because I forgot. Sir Lotric should be at the Firelink Shrine now, and we have something to do with this Firekeeper soul. Yes, the main use for the Firekeeper souls is giving them to your Firekeeper to enhance your Estus Flask. So now that it's at a +1, it'll heal more. And this is where Lotric will go after you rescue him.
Ah, hello there. I have your reward. Please, accept it.
If for some reason he's not there, if you play the game and rescue him, try resting at a bonfire or quitting out of the
I'm
game.
grateful to you for freeing me. Not enough for you.
we've done that, we are now ready to go visit the blacksmith. Let's see. I'm gonna be a little greedy since we're gonna be immediately going to a bonfire. We're gonna get a few more souls. That way we can upgrade our weapon a little bit more. Oh, he lives. Take out one more Balder Knight. This is a good spot if you're needing to farm up souls to either level up or increase weapons. One, because the blacksmith's in the area, and two, these Balder Knights have a real good chance of dropping Titanite shards, which you use to upgrade the weapons. So the more shards that you farm before having to spend to buy some, the more you have for other uses. Actually, before we go any further, let's see... Ah, he is there. This is another NPC you'll see along your journeys. This area we can't get to yet, but we'll talk to the NPC.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall. Or a gate, I should say. The thing just won't budge, no matter how long I wait. And oh, have I waited. So here I sit, in quite a pickle, weighing my options, so to speak. Still closed. Still closed.
There are a handful of NPCs that you'll run across in your journeys. Siegmeyer is one of them, and Solaire will be another popular one. There might be a few more that I'm not thinking of. I am running off of old memory of the game.
Well, you must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astora. If you require smithing, then speak to me. Most weapons and armor are mighty sturdy indeed, but every hunk of metal has its breaking point. If you notice durability running low, it's time to repair. You can ask a blacksmith like myself, or do it on your own with a grindstone. The nice thing about weapons, they never betray you, so pay them a little respect, eh? There are two types of weapon forging. There's reinforcement and there's ascension. Reinforcement is simple. It strengthens the weapon and nothing more. A simple task for any blacksmith. Hell, you could even do it yourself with a smith box. But ascension's a finer art. It alters a weapon's properties. Ascension is the territory of we blacksmiths. A smith box just won't do the trick. Start out with reinforcement. When that loses its charm, you can consider ascension. As you've noticed, this land is flush with the mad and wicked. You won't make it through the night without employing my services. You can forge armor just like you do weapons. Forging armor is even easier than forging weapons. Whether you forge weapons or armor first, well, that's up to you. But nobody wants to see you go hollow. So whatever you do, you'd better do it well.
And this is where you'll spend a lot of your time upgrading your weapon and armor. Also early on, to repair. Until you get that item to repair your stuff, you'll be going to him a lot. You can buy Titanite shards from him. They do require 800 souls, so that's where that farming bit I was talking about earlier comes in hand. The Crest Sartorius. At some point, you will want to get this from him, but it's not something I recommend getting early on. He also sells items. And once again, someone who sells arrows and bolts. As you can see on the top right, it requires souls and shards to upgrade your weapons. So we can get to a +2 right now, but we need more shards to do the rest. We'll buy 4 more, that way we can get it to +4. Now to get to +5, we would need 3 more shards, so 2,400 souls, and 200 to make it. So if we wanted to do it in this episode, we need to get 2,600 souls real quick.
Don't get yourself, Kip. Neither of us want to see you go hollow.
Which is something we're about to do. We're going to rest at this bonfire and take down his friend. What build should you start with as a Souls pleb? The build I'm going with is very good for non-PvP. As you can see, if you join the Covenant and get this spell early on, you can do a lot of damage. If magic's too complicated for you, you can just go a straight, strength or dex build. And just focus on one weapon the whole time. A lot of people over the years have made videos explaining good builds, but in general, the best thing to do is focus on 4 or 5 stats and just keep leveling those up. Figure out what weapon you want to use, make sure you have the stats for those weapons. And if you want to be a spellcaster, once you get the requirement for the weapon, just focus all your points on faith or intelligence. To have the easiest time, I would do a vitality, endurance, strength, build, go around with a battle axe and a shield, and when you unlock pyromancy, just start putting points in attunement so you can cast pyro spells. In Dark Souls 1, pyromancy didn't require any stat requirements. You didn't have to build intelligence or faith for it. It just went off of the produce flame glove you're given. Let's see. Then you kill a handful of soldiers, and we'll have the mace at a +5. But now that I've upgraded at a +4, it should do a considerable amount of damage to these guys. I don't know if I'll be broadcasting the parts where I need to farm souls a lot. Especially on YouTube, not a lot of people just want to watch farming for 30 to 60 minutes. But luckily, we still had the Titanite Demon, so we don't have to do too much farming. Alright, that's enough to get it to a +5. We'll get the mace to a +5, we'll turn human, and we'll end this episode fighting the Bell Gargoyles. Of the bonfire. Use 1 humanity to become human. We'll kindle, so we have 10 flask. That leaves us with 1 humanity over.
Well, you need it.
There we go. Mace is now at a +5, and we won't be able to upgrade it anymore until we get access to the large ember, which, if everything goes right, we should have at the start of the next episode, maybe like 20 minutes in, if that. As mentioned earlier in this episode, getting your human form allows you to summon people to help you, but it also opens up the door for people to invade you. So if you're trying to use it just to get to a boss, you need to get to the boss as quickly as you can. Especially at the beginning areas. A lot of people will keep their characters at low levels and invade people trying out the games for the first time or doing non-PvP builds because they'll be easier kills for them.
User disconnected from your channel.
Because one of the big things for invading is getting humanity, which, as mentioned, you need for a lot of things. And as you see, now that the mace is at a +5, we're doing a lot more damage. That way we're not relying just on the spear for damage. But, as always, even though these creatures are getting hit one shot, we can get stun locked and end up dying. So you always gotta play it on the safe side. The complete opposite of what I'm doing right now. there's 2 summon signs we're looking for. The Night Watcher that we saved earlier should be available, and the sign's right here. For a lot of boss fights, there will be NPC summons that are available to give people who play offline an option. Because this game can be played completely offline if you choose to. Using summons is kind of a double-edged sword. It makes it harder for the AI to down someone as there's more targets, but to kind of balance it out, they give the boss a lot more HP per summon that you use. So, I usually recommend trying the boss on your own at first, and then if it's just too difficult, that's when you try summoning. Or, if you have NPCs, usually their quests are tied to doing boss fights, which is why I use them. Alright. Time for the second boss. I've always been a big fan of the music they use.
User joined your channel.
As you can see, putting all our points into Faith has the spell do a lot of damage. Another thing for people not familiar with this game, there are bosses with tails that can be cut off with a chance of getting their item. I'm not too keen on getting the Gargoyle's weapon, so that's why I'm not focusing on the tail. As you can see, that's how easy a boss fight can be if you have summons to draw their aggro for you. It lets you have plenty of time to cast a spell, and you can just nuke them. Now with the Bell Gargoyle defeated, we climb up and ring the bell. And with that, we've rang the first Bell of Awakening. Second bell is located at the bottom of Blighttown, which is everyone's favorite spot in this game. But to get there, we're going to have to make a few stops. Now that we rang the bell, this guy shows up. Normally, I don't bother with this guy.
I am Oswald of Career.
I usually just talk to him to get his jester.
Yet magnanimous are the gods. Cometh thou to confess, or to accuse? For indeed all sins might.
There is a mechanic involving him there are ways to sin in the game, and he can help clear the sins. I've never looked into exactly what that is. I assume it falls along the lines of killing NPCs and things such as that. But as you can see, this is some of the stuff he sells. This might end up being a spell I use for this playthrough. I don't have nearly the souls to get it now, so I'm not going to worry about it. This does have good scaling, but it costs too much for me to use right now. A lot of these souls that I have right now need to be used for leveling up. And just reading it, it goes based off of intelligence. So this would be a talisman you use if you are making a intelligence faith character. You would get the minimum requirement of faith, which is 0. And using this talisman, you would just be able to use your intelligence and cast faith spells. You still have to have the faith required to cast the spells themselves, but you wouldn't have to go beyond that point. These are really good rings if you wanted to spend time farming to get them. Especially Poison Bite. Blighttown is a lane covered in poisonous water. This ring would help you not become poisoned as much. And Ring of Sacrifice is one of the best rings to get, especially for new players. It's a one-time use, but when you die, you don't lose anything.
Thou art welcome any time. It is only human to commit a sin.
Let's see, let's update some of these. Always gotta have that one. You always gotta have Praise the Sun. Let's see. Well, what is it? Is a good one after you've defeated something. Hurrah's always a good time. There's no online talk, so when you are playing with other players, a lot of times the way you communicate is through these gestures. We are now done with the first section of the Undead Burg. Before we go farther, we're going to rest at the bonfire. We'll do the bonfire at fire. Now we'll do the blacksmith bonfire. Next episode, we will probably go back to the insane asylum and take care of a few things left done there.
Seem to need any.
Just checking if the talisman can be upgraded. It does not look like it can. use what souls we have left to level up. Alright. That is where I will end the episode today. Next time we play, we will head back to the Insane Asylum and deal with some more demons. Thank you for joining today, and we'll see you next time.